Growing up, I've always been the kind of person that was obsessed with kids. I always loved them. I always thought babies were the cutest thing in the whole entire world. Every time I'd go out with my family, I would hang out with the little kids and make sure they had a good time because there's just something inside of me that just kind of has this motherly instinct where I'm just so ready to have kids. I'm too young, don't worry, but I'm so excited to have kids one day. And I was thinking to myself, there's so many things that could go wrong. So many things. I want to be like the person that you see in Disney movies. The ones that they always kill off in the beginning, like Queen Athena in Ariel's beginning. She loved her kids so much, and those kids adored her. And I want to be that someday for my own kids. But I'm so scared of screwing up. So I guess you can call that my motivation for wanting to research why a good bond with your child is so important and what you can do to make sure that you ensure that healthy relationship. For starters, we can look at what we do that contributes to unhealthy, dysfunctional relationships with our kids. Some are a little bit more obvious than others, but a lot of the times, we don't even know that we're doing them. So, for starters, we're going to talk about abandonment. According to Nadelson, in the Encyclopedia of What Makes a Family a Dysfunctional One, when a child is abandoned or left by themselves, they may feel as if their needs and ideas are not important, or perhaps they should not be taken seriously by others. As a result, they may form negative self-images and unsatisfying relationships as adults. It also inhibits their trust. They're going to have terrible relationships with their bosses, with their friends, with romantic interests, all because they were abandoned as a kid. They're going to keep thinking that people are going to continuously abandon them, and they're going to put their walls up and not turn out so great. Also, another obvious contributor is abuse. Obviously, we do not want to hurt our child, but if we do, it can leave more than just a scar. Children can be locked out of the house, slapped, hit, scratched, punched, or even kicked, and some families consider that minor violations. That's child abuse, honey. And not only can you hit and punch your child, but according to Fuli, Leo, and Yulong, words are just as abusive. Even though a father may sometimes show his love to a child, his depreciative words cause far more injury. We need to make sure that we are careful with what the heck we are saying to our kids. They'll take everything we say seriously, and they can get severely hurt by what we say. According to Dr. Jennifer Stennett, a psychologist and a therapist, she claims that dysfunction comes from when kids are hurt and what parents say, or when there isn't time for kids to just be themselves. If they live in a home or a world that makes them think that they're not good enough or think that they can't be a kid and have fun, it's dysfunctional. Also, if we want to look back at abandonment, being distant is extremely bad for a kid as well. Uninvolved. Don't want to come to the sports games. Nothing. However, if you're on the other end and you're extremely intrusive and overly protective, that is just as bad. Don't be the parent that hovers over their kids 100% of the time. Also, we shouldn't let kids get what they want all the time. We'll throw them a bone every now and then. We want to have a good balance between letting them get what they want and what they need versus letting them get what they want. If we let them get what they want, they're going to develop narcissistic tendencies. I read the book Wuthering Heights by Emily Bront, and there is this character named Catherine, and Catherine always got everything she wanted as a kid, and she became the biggest narcissist ever, only cared about herself, very egotistical. And when people denied her request, she became such a crybaby when she was an adult. Her sister-in-law hated her, her servants hated her. It was just a bad experience in general. Another one is if we have more than one child and we compare them to one another. According to Nadelson, the problem with comparisons is that there's always a negative. For every smart one, there's necessarily a stupid one. Even though they can both be intellectually on the same level, if you call one child the smart one, the other one's going to think that they're not smart, even though they can be just as capable as the other kid. The final hidden contributor is making the child the adult. If your child is playing house permanently, that's a problem. If they're cooking, if they're watching over their siblings, if they're calling people for you, if they're the adults and they're taking care of you when you're crying and when you're upset, you should not be a parent at all. Surprise, surprise, there's going to be a multitude of issues that arise if we're abusive to our children. For example, psychological issues is a great start. The most common psychological issues found in kids in dysfunctional families are depression and personality disorders. According to Nadelson, for clarification, depression is when people lose interest or pleasure in nearly all activities, and personality disorders are patterns of inner experience and behavior that are extremely different from the expectations of a person's culture and are pervasive and inflexible, begin in adolescence or early adulthood, become stable over time, and lead to distress or impairments. Other disorders may include learning disorders, communication disorders, attention deficit disorders, disruptive behavior disorders, feeding and eating disorders, and tic disorders. All these are terrible to put on our child. Why would we want that? Why be an abusive parent to a kid and cause all of these psychological issues? And that's not even the end. I haven't even gotten into personality disorders. There's schizoid personality disorder, schizotypal, antisocial, borderline, histrionic, avoidant, dependent, obsessive compulsive. All of these can be found in dysfunctional families and in the children, and it's not okay. Again, that was from Nadelson, by the way. Now you may be wondering, well, what can I do to be a good parent? Why do you keep telling me all these bad things that I can do? Well, I got you, don't worry. I did my research. What I've been stressing pretty much this whole entire time is that we need to have a good interaction with our kids. It's almost as simple as that. We need to make sure that we're speaking in a positive manner and an upbeat tone. According to Griota, this is especially important if you have a little newborn baby, because the baby's brain has the ability to change significantly, and these are driven by the child's experiences. Thus, making a lot of eye contact with the baby and putting a soft, warm, and positive emotional tone when addressing him is very important, especially for later social interactions. It is also very crucial that we are interested in what our child is interested in. According to Dr. Jennifer Stennett, to her, a good interaction is being interested in what your children are interested in and listening. A lot of listening. Less preaching, more listening, especially when they're adults. And after all, studies have shown that the interaction between parents and children is crucial for the development and learning of the child, according to Griota. We also need to make sure that our household is organized and flexible. According to Nadelson, flexibility is balanced by the need for stability, enduring values, traditions, predictable and consistent rules for behavior. And for organization, a functional family has boundaries that unite the family members together, but also allow for some differences. We also just need to simply be there for our children. They need a shoulder to cry on. I analyzed the Songs of Innocence, which is a continuous series of poems by William Blake. And in Little Boy Found, he said, "And to his mother brought, her little boy weeping sought." In other words, our kids are going to be so sad at points, and they need someone to run to, and he needed his mom, someone that he could confide in, and we need to be there for our kids if they ever need a shoulder to cry on or life advice. We also need to make sure that we keep an eye on our children. For example, according to WX212 News, there was this heroin addict that fell asleep on his baby, and the baby accidentally got into his heroin stash and overdosed and almost died. That's considered child abuse, by the way. We need to make sure that our kids aren't getting into anything bad. You never know what can happen to your child. And lastly, we need to make sure that in some sort of way, both parents of the child are involved and have a healthy relationship together. I understand that some people may be divorced, and I understand that some people may be deceased. But gosh forbid something happens and there's only one person that can look after the kid, whether that's the actual parent or the guardian. They need to fill both the roles of mom and dad. It is very important. According to Fulai, Liu, and Yulung, the Lakean theory of psychoanalysis states that fathers play a pivotal role in a patriarchal family. And according to Griota, the mother has an extreme impact. So it's crucial that we have a mother and a father that are there for their child, or people that can step in that place. All in all, I had an extremely fun time researching all of this about kids and babies, and I really look forward to being that good parent to my own kids one day, and I really hope that you guys take this information that I have given you to a good place. And the biggest takeaway you can get from this video is knowing that if you can't do these things, you're not ready to be a parent, and you shouldn't be a parent yet. Please don't do that to your kids. Thanks.
Hi. Oh, I don't want to be on there.
You just said hi. How do you not want to be on there?
Hello.
Ow.
Ow. Okay.
Ow. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Start it over. Mommy screwed up.
At least she's not dysfunctional, huh? Oh my gosh. Someone help me.